15th, New Thought Sunday service. We welcome all of you who can be with us today. Today we're blessed with a guest speaker. His name is Charley Thweatt. He's a musical minstrel with a message. And he's going to start out with a song for us right now.
Okay. Well, hello everybody, and it's actually Thweatt, but that's fine. I get tweet all the time. So I'm Charley Thweatt, and I'm glad to be back. Last time I stood on your lanai was almost 5 years ago, believe it or not. So it's fun to be back with this community. And I want to start off with a song called My Mind is a Receiver. And this is about how we receive intuitive messages through our minds and then send it out through our hearts. So if you want to play along at home, the home game, when we get to the chorus, I want you to take your hands and make antennas on your head when we sing My Mind is a Receiver. So let's see, what does that look like this maybe, or this, whatever, just that receptivity. And then my heart is a giver. So it'd be a fun thing to do on a Sunday morning, just play along with the music. Come out of time, come out of space, just go for the good in the human race. Come out of time, come out of space, just go for the good that is taking place. Come out of time, come out of space, just go for the good in the human race. Come out of time, come out of space, just go for the good that is taking place. And my mind is a receiver, my heart is a giver. My mind is a receiver, my heart is a giver. My mind is a receiver, my heart is a giver. My mind is a receiver, my heart is a giver. Come out of time, come out of space, just go for the good in the human race, in the human race, in the human race. Come out of time, come out of space, just go for the good in the human race. Come out of time, come out of space, just go for the good that is taking place. Come out of time, come out of space, just go for the good in the human race. Come out of time, come out of space, just go for the good in the human race. And my mind is a receiver, my heart is a giver. My mind is a receiver, my heart is a giver. My mind is a receiver, my heart is a giver. My mind is a receiver, my heart is a giver. My mind is a receiver, my heart is a giver. My mind is a receiver, my heart is a giver. My mind is a receiver, my heart is a giver. My mind is a receiver, my heart is a giver. Thank you.
Thank you, Charley. That was great. Move on. Welcome again. My name is Stephen Goss. I'm the facilitator for today's service. Isn't it a relief that the elections are over? We can all relax. It's a good time to start forgiving each other for having some different opinions about life. Let's rejoin and come back together and work on that collective need for peace and happiness. And let's do it as a team. Let's celebrate giving up those thoughts that keep us from feeling connected with one another. So let's start now with a short opening prayer or meditation or affirmation, whatever works for you. Just take a moment to quiet down and go within. Celebrate the beautiful reality that we are all one and connected together. That we all want to realize the same thing, peace of mind, the same sense of certainty and security to know that we're worthy and life is good. So take just a moment to quietly reflect on that. Welcome back. Welcome back. We can stop worrying now and give up all doubt and fear that things won't turn out, because they have already turned out. And I recently heard the lyrics of another song saying, well, you don't have to glitter because you're already gold. I kind of like that. A little bit about New Thought. Did I say my name is Stephen Goss? I'm the facilitator for today's service. We have a different facilitator and a different guest speaker every week. The New Thought Center of Hawaii has a very long history. We started out as a Science of Mind Center in church in 1971, based on the philosophy of Ernest Holmes. And his basic philosophy is our perceptions of things create our reality. What you see is because of what you have believed. So if we change our beliefs, our reality will change accordingly. It's about taking responsibility for our own thinking, admitting that the world didn't just happen to us, but that we happened to the world. New Thought has an actual brick and mortar physical center here in Kealakekua. And right now, because of the COVID, we're only meeting online. Hopefully that can change in the near future. Also, we believe how we treat others is how we would treat ourselves. And we believe it's better to teach and practice forgiveness rather than condemnation. And we accept all the paths that remove the obstacles to freedom. And I think it's time for a reading from Pasha from the Science of Mind magazine.
Thank you, Stephen. So this is the current issue, and today's reading, as usual, seems to be perfect, as though it were planned for Charley and for us. So it begins with a quotation from Dr. William Guillory, and the title of the whole thing is The Art of Awakening. So here's the first quote. I act and react to the world on the basis of what I know, whether what I know is real or not. The second quotation is from Dr. Ernest Holmes. Man is not the power. He is the avenue through which the power flows. And the essay is by an author and teacher named Jafan Seeley. I was 20 years old when I first woke up. I don't believe there's one moment in time when everything shifts, but rather that everything is always working together to help with those shifts. I realized that my spiritual awakening has been happening as far back as I can remember. However, something happened after 2 decades on this planet. I was living in Seattle at the time, and my father had a friend who was living nearby who would always challenge my limiting beliefs with a higher idea. We would get into debates as to why all his divine order thoughts were wrong. I thought I was clever and would point out all the things in my life at the time that were not in divine order. Patiently, he continued our conversations and eventually gave me a book. This book had power, but I didn't discover that power until I had the courage to open it. Once I did, my life was altered. Perhaps my life was altered because everything I did prior to opening that book prepared me for it. I'm sure you've heard of the book I'm referring to, A Course in Miracles. One phrase in that book shifted my consciousness in such a way that it transformed the way I saw myself, the world, and what I thought was truth. The quote was this: "The real cannot be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. You and I are part of the real." And I'll share the affirmation. If you feel inclined to, you can repeat. I'll do it in 2 parts. The power of the infinite flows through me this day. I am grounded in peace, compassion, and strength.
Thank you, Pasha. That was great. And if we could have another lyrical message from Charley, that would be great.
Okay. So let me set my sound. There we go. Just speak the truth and tell me what you're feeling. Just speak the truth with kindness in your heart. Just speak the truth when things come up for healing. Just speak the truth and show me who you are. Show me who you are. Show me who you are. When your day isn't going quite the way you planned, and you watch as your peace just deserts you, then it's time to step up so your heart can make a stand, and just let your friends know if they've hurt you. Just speak the truth and tell me what you're feeling. Just speak the truth with kindness in your heart. Just speak the truth when things come up for healing. Just speak the truth and show me who you are. Show me who you are. Show me who you are. If I didn't love you, then I would not be led to ask for the things that are missing. And it's not always easy to say what must be said. It takes courage to ask you to listen. I speak the truth. I tell you what I'm feeling. I speak the truth, as gentle as a lamb. I speak the truth when things come up for healing. I speak the truth and show you who I am. show you who I am, show you who I am. When my day isn't going quite the way I planned, and I watch as my peace just deserts me, then it's time to step up so my heart can make a stand and just let people know if they've hurt me. I speak the truth when things come up for healing. I speak the truth with kindness in my heart. I speak the truth and let you know my feelings. I speak the truth and show you who we are. 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 Show you who we are.
Thanks, you, Charlie. That was beautiful. Your music certainly does have a message.
Thank you.
Great. So I'd like to take this time to introduce Charlie more fully. He hasn't spoken for New Thought for nearly 5 years. And I hope you enjoy his easygoing style of delivering meaningful messages with music. Charlie's been playing since 1981, inspiring tens of thousands of people in over 15 different countries on 6 continents. He's been a musical opener for people like Wayne Dyer, Marianne Williamson, Deepak Chopra, Ram Dass, Tony Robbins. The list goes on, Louise Hay. And this Sunday, he'll share some stories as part of his talk called The Bowl of Our Boats. And you'll discover that this phrase is a beautiful metaphor for what is perhaps the simplest and the most challenging spiritual task we all have, and that's being awake in this moment, right here, right now. Charlie, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Pasha. Again, it's great to be back here. And yes, the bows of our boats, and so like the front of the boat, the bow. And that's an image I like because it's kind of like that part that's just cutting through the water, you know, creating that kind of that wave at the front of the boat, that bow wave. So I'll get more into that in a few minutes. I'd like to start with a meditative song, kind of to take us inward again. And this is a really simple chant. I invite you to join, and maybe even close your eyes as we get going. This is I'm sure I've sung it before on the lanai, and this is "Be still and know I am God." So it's 7 simple words: be still and know I am God. And for me, that's the inner voice calling me to a place of stillness, to know the I am, you know, that God presence that lives in all of us. Be still and know I am God. So let's close our eyes for this. Take a deep breath in. It's really about becoming present with who we are at our center. Be still and know I am God. Be still and know I am God. Be still and know I am God. Add your voice. still and know I am God. Be still and know I am God. Be still and know I am God. Be still and know I am God. At the end of the song, we'll have a moment of silence. Be still and know I am God. Be still and know I am God. Be still and know I am God. Keeping your eyes closed, let's take a deep breath in. Be still and know. Know that I am presence, that always lives at our core. Be still and know I am God. Sometimes I love to imagine that the trees are singing this to me, and the ocean is singing it to me. And every part of creation is singing this as a reminder. Be still and know. In a way, it's the universe inviting us back home. Come back home to your heart. Come back home to your center. Be still and know the I am that lives in all of us. Be still and know. We take another deep breath in. And as we exhale, we can let our eyes open. And come back to where we are in this present moment. And be here to share this morning together. Be still and know. Before I speak, I want to share another song with you. And, it's been so long since I've been there. I've put out at least 2 CDs, maybe 3 since I saw you. And this is the title song of my most recent album. This is called Tell Me Stories. In fact, the album cover is a painting from the Big Island. And it's not quite this painting, but looks very much like this one. This is a shot of the Red Road over on the other side of the Big Island, one of my favorite places. And so this is Tell Me Stories. Tell me stories of the many glories that you've got yourself into. And what you're finding out on the horizon in the sky of blue, you can call me if you fall for the lies that people throw at you. 'Cause you're much greater than any hater when you could come right home to what is true. So why don't you? Will you find it there? In so many places, wherever you go, will you find it there? In all of your searching, just what do you know? Tell me stories of the many glories. Life is streaming all the while you're dreaming of some castles in the air. Does your insisting mean that you are missing all the love that's waiting there? You can call me if you fall for the lies that people throw at you. 'Cause you're much greater than any hater when you could come right home to what is true. So why don't you? Will you find it there? In so many faces, wherever you'll be, will you find it there? In all of your seeking, just what do you see? Will you find it there? In so many places, wherever you go, will you find it there? In all of your searching, just what do you know? Tell me stories, tell me stories of the many glories. Tell me stories, tell me stories of the many glories, of the many glories. Tell me stories of the many glories that you've got yourself into. Thank you for that thunderous applause. All right. So the bows of our boats. The bows of our boats. Well, actually, I'd like to start with a little joke. I love starting with a joke, and this one's just kind of cute. Because what we're really looking at today is that, so like Stephen had said, that simple and yet in some ways maybe the most challenging task of just staying awake in the moment. Maybe that's the whole journey, isn't it? Well, anyway, this is about two kind of codgers driving down the road in town. And, Dave is driving and Larry is sitting in the passenger seat. And they're tooling along. They're going by several blocks. And then at one point, Larry says, "Oh my God," he looks up and says, Did Dave just drive through a red light? Well, I probably shouldn't say anything. Maybe I imagined it. It's probably nothing. And so he's, they're going along, and sure enough, Dave drives through a second red light, and Larry thinks, well, I should probably say something. Well, if he does it again, I probably should bring it up. And sure enough, a few blocks later, Dave drives through a third red light, and finally Larry says, Dave, I don't want to offend you, but did you know you've driven through 3 red lights? And Dave says, I'm driving? A couple of old codgers. So maybe Dave wasn't really staying awake to the moments of life, huh? So the bows of our boats. So I want to tell you a story about a friend of mine, and her name is Tana. And she's some dear friend for a third of a century. And, known her, forever and ever. And one of the funniest people I've ever known, one of the brightest. And she and I raised our kids together. We weren't married, but, my son and her daughter have known each other since they were 6 months old. So, really woven in, I'll say family member. And a few years ago, Tana was diagnosed with cancer. And, she got treatment and it went away, but then it came back again and it went away. And it came back a third time, and this time it wasn't going away. And the doctor, told her that it was terminal and she wasn't going to get out of it this time. Now, Tana was one of these people, although she was bright and smart and really talented in so many areas, she was also a person that seemed to always be carrying the psychological weight. And it seemed like she could never really quite get her life together, like things didn't ever quite snap together, never really created a career that she loved. And it was always kind of sad for all of us to watch because what a smart, bright person, but it just seemed like it never quite worked. And I feel like maybe some of it was this weight she carried from her childhood, and I don't know her entire story, but when I heard that that third diagnosis came and it wasn't going to be going away, I didn't live really close to her, but I went by and visited about 8 weeks before she passed. And what I noticed was, oh my gosh, she looks the best she's ever looked. How could this be? And what I realized was, I think something in her finally let go of that weight. Like maybe something said, oh, I finally don't have to be something for everybody else. I finally don't have to carry that weight, to achieve, to finally live up to some expectation. And she could finally just be. Isn't that interesting? And it kind of begs the question, do we have to wait until we're on death's door to finally let go and not try and achieve what we think other people want us to do and to just kind of drop our baggage and be? Isn't that interesting that for her, that's what it took? And I invite all of us to not have to go to that point before we can just let go of our baggage and take a breath and finally, because she seemed so at peace with herself, so at ease in her life, such as it was in her final weeks. And I finally, that 8 weeks later, I did get the message that she had passed. And it, we knew it was coming, but my heart hurt, and I was just feeling her and just being grateful for her in my life. And, the message came about 5 p.m. And a few hours later, I was looking in my wife's eyes, and Tana was obviously on my mind. And I started to get this image, and I don't know if this is true for you, but when someone close to us passes, what I've noticed for me is that it's a real message to bring myself back present, to realize how precious every day is. And to really remind myself, I want to stay awake in this life. I don't want to just kind of drift by and kind of, sometimes we get on automatic and our life just kind of goes by and we don't remember to cherish this. And if you're like me, when someone passes, I go, oh yeah, I want to stay awake. I want to remember. And so I'm looking in my wife's eyes and Heidi's eyes and just thinking about Tana and thinking about being awake and being present. And that image of the bow of the boat, because it was really more like this, I was feeling like this present moment is like this moment, pushing through the water, like the bow of the boat. And that point where the bow is breaking the water, that's our present moment. It's always moving. It never stays still. It's always going by. And how awake can we be to that? And I just thought that was a great metaphor. And then these words started coming to me. And Heidi says, what are you thinking? What's going on? I said, well, I'm hearing these words, like this poem is starting in my mind. And the words I started to hear were, we are the bows of our boats, the leading edge of our venture. There's so much down below that we may never see. And she said, well, do you want to go write that down? I said, yeah. And so I went, and it became this long poem. And then within 30 minutes, it became a song. And so what I want to do is just read you these words that came to me. Now, if you're like me, have you ever been to a talent show? And someone says they're going to read a poem, and I realize that they have 12 pages stapled together, and oh my God, this is going to take forever. Well, this is just this long, so it's not super long. But I want to share this with you because I think it's powerful, and there's something for us all to learn. So, we are the bows of our boats, the leading edge of our venture. There's so much down below that you may never see. You know, our private challenges, not everyone sees what we're going through, right? And sometimes that's kind of like below deck. We are each moment in time, the way we face our future. The one you see in these eyes is not my history. You know, if we're really meeting each other in this present moment, we're not getting lost in the story of our past. It's who are you now in this awake moment? And if you feel some weight, it's holding me together, a ballast to be sure for when I hit rough seas. And you know, Tana was carrying that weight until she dropped it. And to me, that was one of her biggest gifts. But so that weight, and the next verse, but that's not who I am, or barely who I was ever. So catch me if you can in every breath's release. You know, see me who I am right now. You know, not my story, not my weight, not my history. So may you gleam and may you shine and find your place beyond time. You know, this timeline, we get lost in our story, but who are we, you know, above that, out of time and space? You know, that soul, that essence, that spirit that we are. Find your place beyond time. May you know that sweet line that is you and not you beyond time. May you know that sweet line, that place in between that spirit and physical world, who we are in both of those, that is you and not you beyond time. We are the bows of our boats. There's a great quote from Byron Katie. She says, the only time we suffer is when we believe a thought that argues with what is. When the mind is perfectly clear, what is what we want. And again, it's when we struggle with what we think should be versus with what's actually happening. You know, that's when we're pulling ourselves out of the moment, are we? We're trying to redirect, trying to force it into something else. If we're just being with what is, there's a real peace in that when we can just let go into it. To stay awake with what is versus all of our mind games. Oh my God. Have you experienced a few mind games in the last week? Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that we can exhale just a little bit, huh? So how do we stay awake on that momentary leading edge? I like to use the image of a wave. You know, one of my favorite songs I've written, I wrote on the Big Island. It's wave after wave. You know, it's that point in time moving through time, that wave. Can we almost stay awake and ride that wave, ride the crest? Can we surf the moment and just be aware? And in doing that, if we can stay awake in the moment, we can stay awake for so much fun. Instead of being, if you're lost in your mind, you're going to miss something. You know, I grew up in a family where I thought my parents were very clever. We have a family friend who was a naval aviator. And he was able to get us a floor-to-ceiling map of the world. And so in the little kitchen area where I grew up, I grew up with a floor-to-ceiling map of the world as a kid. So it's like our wallpaper. And we would play games at the dinner table sometimes. Our parents would say, who can find Madrid, Spain? You know, who can find it first? Or who can find Perth, Australia? And so I grew up, you know, seeing, you know, grew up with a sense of geography greater than maybe a lot of people. And I loved it. I love, you know, knowing all the, you know, where all the places on our planet are. And this was a great background for a flight I took once. And this was in 1997, so before every bit of security was happening in the airlines. And I was on a 747, and this was the first time I was flying to Japan, ever. And I had some gigs over there, some concerts and workshops that I was doing. And I was flying San Francisco to Tokyo nonstop. And I was up in the upper level of a 747, in the hump, you know, right behind the cockpit, and on the right side of the plane, on the, I guess, starboard side. And about 2.5 hours in, you know, we had all our shades were down because some people wanted to sleep, so it was dark in the cabin. But my mind said, gee, I wonder, because I was remembering the map on the wall growing up as a kid, I wonder if we're over the Aleutian Islands about now. That would be about the right timing, right? And so I kind of raised the little shade. I went, voot, and there they were, this string of islands going off into the distance. And then I quickly closed it, voot, because I didn't want to bother all the people trying to sleep. And almost immediately, the Japanese flight attendant, she came up, and I was on Japan Airlines. And she came up and said, would you like to see that from the cockpit? And I thought, what? Yes. But you know, we wouldn't do that in our country. We wouldn't at that time. But she says, come on. So I get up out of my seat. I walk about 8 rows forward. She gets out a key, unlocks the door, opens the door, and speaks some Japanese to the two pilots. And they welcome me in. And so she closes the door, and here I am. And so they raise the shade so I can see the Aleutians going in both directions. Like, oh my God, what a fun, marvelous view. And then they invited me to sit down. There was a third seat. Now, in a 747, it's a pretty large cockpit. It's pretty large, and there's a third seat behind them, just centered. And they had this white sheepskin draped over it and said, have a seat. And so here I am sitting on a white sheepskin going across the Pacific. And they start chatting with me, so, you know, asking, hey, is it your first time going to Japan? Yes, it is. And are you on business or pleasure? And I said, well, a little bit of both. I'm doing some concerts and workshops, plus I just want to see Japan for the first time. Oh, concerts. Are you playing music? Yes. What kind of music do you play? And I never know how to describe it, you know, folk singer, new thought, guy with guitar, I don't know. And I said, but you know, my guitar is just outside in the closet. Would you like to hear a song? I said, yes, bring it in. So I go get my guitar. Suddenly I'm sitting on the sheepskin, flying across the Pacific, you know, strumming and singing to these two Japanese pilots. And they have pretty good English. And I didn't even think. I just started playing a song that I'd just written a few weeks before, and it had been on my mind a lot. And after I finished playing, I realized it was the perfect song for the occasion. It starts out, sometimes I feel like a bird flying over the ocean. You know, what better song could I be playing? And that's describing their life. You know, they're flying back and forth. And when the song was over, the younger of the two pilots, he turned around and said, oh my God, and he looked kind of mesmerized. And about this time, I'm thinking, I hope this plane's on automatic pilot, because he's kind of in dream world from this song. But then he says, are you doing any concerts in Tokyo? Because I would love for my wife to come and hear that song and hear you play it. I said, yes, actually I do have one, and let me get your contact information. I'll have somebody, you know, call you. And I did do the concert, and it turns out I decided to play that song because it was such a fun story. And at the end of it, after I told the whole story and then sang the song, and at the end I said, and that Japan Airlines pilot in the story is here on the back row with his wife. And they all went, ooh, and it was just a fun moment. Now, you know, before I told this story, I was talking about if we just stay awake for the possibilities that can happen in our lives, be awake for the fun, the joy, the moments that are coming, or the opportunities coming our way. And what if I had said to that flight attendant, oh, no, 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 that's okay. None of that would have happened. Let's stay awake for the joy, the possibilities. You know, a dear friend of mine, Alan Cohen, I know he's spoken at your center before also. You know, we toured together for 7 years all around the U.S. and Puerto Rico and Russia and Mexico. And one of my favorite book titles he's ever written has the most simple, perfect message. Joy is my compass. Joy is my compass. You know, let that be your north arrow. You know, look for what brings us joy. Because that's also going to bring us into the moment, awake in our moments more and more. If we're living for a joyful life. Joy is my compass. What brings you joy? Are there some things you've been thinking in your life that I really wish I could do that, but no, that's okay. That's okay, flight attendant. I don't need to see it from the cockpit. No, stay awake to the possibilities. Break a few boundaries. Break a few paradigms that you're living in your mind. You know, sometimes we keep ourselves so boxed in instead of just being awake to what life is bringing us. Joy is my compass. Let's stay awake to that. You know, another principle I've noticed, and this actually shows up a lot when I've been a part of week-long retreats, many of which I've done on the Big Island, and that is, have you ever had this experience where you're at a retreat, or maybe you're on a vacation somewhere, and you're going to be there for a week, and it's maybe it's day 2 or day 3, and you look at each other and say, oh my gosh, it feels like we've been doing this for a week already. It's only day 2. Have you ever noticed that? Well, I have an idea of what that is, and it has to do with how awake we are. So imagine that your mind is like a bunch of pigeonholes. You know, like in like an old-style mail room. There's all these boxes, all these rows that different people's mail goes in. Well, imagine that kind of as a representation of your mind. And when you're kind of going along on automatic, and life is going by and you're not even noticing, it's like you've just put a few things in a few pigeonholes. But if you're living a day that's so full of activities and things you're doing and essentially moments that you're awake, you're filling a lot of those pigeonholes with experiences. You're not on automatic. You're awake and alive in all those moments. And it feels like you've lived as many experiences as when in your sleeping, automatic state you might do in a week. So my invitation is fill your pigeonholes as much as you can. Fill your life with experiences. Be awake for everything that's coming your way. Stay awake on the bow of your boat. Watch the water breaking. Stay awake in these moments. Feel yourself alive in that breaking water as you stay awake to each moment. I'm going to share one more thing. This is a quote from A Course in Miracles. And a sense of separation from God is the only lack you really need correct. I'll say that again. A sense of separation from God is the only lack you really need correct. And what's embedded in that statement, how are you going to feel separated from God? What would cause that? Well, I think it's when we get lost off in our minds. We get lost in thoughts of separation, thoughts that we're in this duality, the world of duality. God is a place of union, of oneness. And when we get lost in this illusion that we're separate, this good, bad, attack, defend, love, fear, all these ways that we get lost in separation, and which is also how we get pulled out of being awake in the moment. If we're lost in separation, we are not awake. If we're lost in our thoughts, we are not awake. When we stay here, present, that's the only place we're going to find that connection with God. That's the only place union happens, in our awake state. So that's how we correct it. That's how we come back to center. That's how we come back to that be still and I know I am God presence. Be still and know the I am. And that only happens in the present moment. Thank you so much I'm so glad to be here with you and share this time. And I'm going to turn it back over to either Stephen or Pasha. We'll see who comes up next.
Sure. Thanks for those words of wisdom. I have a short question that's interesting. What happens if you're up in the bow of your boat? You're so excited that you lean over too far and fall in.
Well, I think the answer is obvious.
bad?
Yeah, the answer is obvious. You end up swimming with dolphins.
Oh, perfect. Now's a time for offerings. And if you care to make a donation to New Thought, it's greatly appreciated, especially during the time when we can't physically come together. According to most of the teachings in New Thought, the act of unselfish giving is beneficial both to the giver and receiver, and opens up the consciousness to greater prosperity. So may you all be blessed as you give. You can donate electronically by clicking on the button on our homepage on our website, newthoughtcenterofhawaii.com. And this will connect you to the New Thought PayPal account. And you don't need to have a PayPal account to use this method. There is a choice to donate by debit or credit card. Also, donations can be made by check and mailed to the New Thought Center of Hawaii, which is P.O. Box 333, Kealakekua 96740. And of course, all donations are fully deductible for tax purposes. Could we hear a little bit of offertory music while people are deciding what they would like to give?
Okay. Let's see. There we go. So this song is called Letting It Fly. And I love some of the words here. So, and this is really about maybe diving off the bow of your boat, not quite, but I love how the words start out. Letting it, this is about just releasing, letting it go, letting it fly. How can you know if you'll laugh or cry? You jump in the river of life. So now you're a swimmer. It's in your eyes. So feel free to sing along on the chorus or anything you pick up here. Letting it go, letting it fly. How can you know if you'll laugh or cry? You jump in the river of life. So now you're a swimmer. It's in your eyes. With your arms open wide, you are shining inside, and you look with the eyes of your soul. It's a choice that you make with each breath that you take, and it's all for the sake of your soul. When you were younger, your head in the clouds, did you ever wonder how things would play out? Now that you're older and so much you've done, does it ever feel like you've just begun? With your arms open wide, you are shining inside, and you look with the eyes of your soul. It's a choice that you make with each breath want to thank you all for having me here. And I know that there's a little bit more to go, but I'll just direct you. If you want to find anything about me, you can check musicangel.com. Musicangel.com. Find out about my music, my Italy tours when they get going, and also my transformational life coaching. So check that out, and I'll hand it back over to, I think it's Stephen.
Thank you, Charlie. It's a great finishing song. So Pasha, did I unmute? I was doing the offerings. Anyways, the upcoming events at New Thought Center of Hawaii. Our Sunday service starts at 10 p.m. and you can watch it online. Check for a link on the New Thought Center of Hawaii website. And for now, the Crystal Bowl meditations are on hold. For the next 3 Sundays, on 11/22, we have the Zoom community sharing service, expressing gratitude. You can respond to the Zoom invitation at 10 a.m. That morning. There'll be no recordings made. Then LT Smooth has been postponed until sometime next year due to the COVID concerns. And we'll announce the new speaker in the near future. On December 6th, it's Amila Noor. It's parentheses, Carla Hanford and Friends. The Spirit of Christmas. This will be recording on YouTube. We have weekly classes. Mondays, general yoga from 5 to 6:30 with Mary Aman. $15 to $20 drop-in fee. On Thursday, Kona Living Aloha Group from 6 to 8 p.m. with Davina Mar by donation. Upcoming events and workshops at New Thought. The 14th of November, soon, to December 19th, introduction to K9, that's K9 nosework with dogs. That is happening on Saturday from 10 to 11:30 a.m. Only 6 people per class size, 6 dogs, and they're humans. If you're interested, contact Terry at 808-328-8010. In a special announcement, we have an office space for rent for a mere $400 per month. It's formerly occupied by Island Spirit, and they have moved to a nearby building. It's a great space if you're interested. If you'd like to receive the weekly e-newsletter, sign up on our website, which is again www.newthoughtcenterofhawaii.com. Also, you can find the New Thought Center of Hawaii info on Facebook and Dolphin Podners. And we wish you all a great coming week.
So we're doing the closing song, I gather?
And now it's time to our closing.
Okay. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no country. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people living, sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one.
Thank you all for being with us. See you next time.
See you next time. I'm on the Big Island.